Hi there, in this lesson we are going to learn how to use dictionaries in Swift. It's somehow very similar to what we have in Objective-C, especially from a concept perspective. It's exactly the same thing. It's just that the syntax is a little bit different. So let's go to Xcode in here, and I'm going to start a new playground. I'm going to call this one, let's call it My Dictionaries in Swift. So let's see how we're going to write our first dictionary. So the first thing is I need a variable. I'm going to call it dictionary. And then dictionary, I'm going to call it to be of the type dictionary with values that are a string and a string. This is explicitly telling dictionary what kind of values we're going to have in it. And then I could just go ahead and say dictionary initialize, or if you want to be far more explicit, which doesn't really make any difference, you could say explicitly type annotated of the type string and a string. So that's like a much longer, the longest possible way of writing a dictionary. What if I wanted to write it a lot easier? I could just go ahead and say var my dictionary is, and then within brackets I would say for name key column the value is name, and then comma for city key column the value is Vancouver, so on and so forth. So key value paired items. So I'm gonna write this key value paired items, not aired, paired items. So simple as that. I can just build my dictionary in either of the ways. I can go ahead and change values in them. I could say dictionary value for a something called I don't know, UID key, unique identification key, make that this random set of characters. If the UID exists, it's gonna update it. If it doesn't exist, it's gonna essentially add it. I could go to my dictionary and say my dictionary value for name key, make it to be Adam, not Amir. And if I go ahead and get access to this value now, we will see that when we execute our playground, we should see Adam in here. Perfect. So that's exactly what we expected to see. Now, the only thing that is left in here is, what if I want to go through the items of my dictionary? How could I go through every item in my dictionary? To do that, we need to learn a new concept, something that is completely new in Swift, and it doesn't exist in Objective-C. And that concept, we call it a tuple. So tuples help us do that. And before I actually show you how tuples work, let me show you how they work on a dictionary. And then from there on, we go to using it for other purposes. So let me take all of these out and just keep the things that I know I need. So that's that. And then I don't need a dictionary. I don't need a dictionary. And I don't want to update my dictionary. I only want to have this dictionary. So in my dictionary that's called my dictionary, I want to do this. I want to say for, and then I'm going to say K and V in my dictionary, do this. Say print key is interpolation of K as the key, and then I'm going to copy this, paste it, and say value is, of course, V. Now let's go ahead and run this. So if I was to execute my playground, we will see that it says key is name key, value is Amir, key is city key, value is Vancouver. And if we had hundreds of items in our dictionary, the same thing would happen. If we had, I don't know, an array of dictionaries, it would have been the same thing. We would go through the items of the array. For each of them, we would run this thing and would print every value. If we wanted to find out if any of these values is equivalent to, I don't know, a certain name, we would run an if statement in the middle of this. Now, that's all good and well. What we don't know is this particular structure. How is this working? So that is what we call a tuple. So let's see how a tuple works. Tuple is essentially a way for containing several values in order inside only one variable. So I could, in theory, I could say var let's say my name is going to be a parenthesis of Amir and J, for instance. So that's essentially a tuple. It is a tuple of two variables. Both of them are ordered. This is 0, this is 1, and they are sitting inside a variable called my name. So if I go in here and say print, and in the print I say my name dot 0, that's going to print Amir, I'm guessing. Let's see that. So yes, that's going to print that. And then I could, of course, go ahead and use 1, or I could do this. I could go ahead and actually name them. I could say first name is Amir, and then last name is J. And now I could not only access them by their index, I could only access them by their names. I could say print my name by that. So let's see how that works. And again, I get the same thing. So tuples are a very good way for combining multiple values that for whatever reason they have to be together, put them all inside one variable, but give them names. Tuples are kind of like a more concise version of a struct. So you can kind of think of them as a struct if you already know what the structs are in a programming language. If not, don't worry about it. Once we get to a structs, you will learn about those. But tuples are much like a concise and a brief version of a struct, that they do things for us by giving them names. We could potentially, put this as to be multiple values for different, reasons. So it could be var user first name, last name, and then I would say UID, their unique ID is going to be some values. And then I would say their email is going to be, and that's going to be at an email address essentially, so on and so forth. And now if I wanted to access this guy, I could simply go ahead and say user.email. And it would print for me this particular, value that it has in its email, in this case, amir@example.com. Now, this is the same format we are following in a dictionary. We are saying, give me a tuple of two values, let's call them key and val. All right, I'm going to say a tuple that is called key and val inside my dictionary, because I know every object in here is of that nature, is a key and a val. And now I could go ahead and say key, and of course val, and obviously it's going to work the way we expected. So that's about that. That's how we make dictionaries in Swift. That's how we introduce them as literal. If we want, we could explicitly tell the compiler that they are dictionaries of the type, whatever it is we are trying to do. You might sometimes in other people's code see it like this, var dictionary, and then they do something like this. They write a string and a string. And that simply means, again, they are trying to, not that they are trying, they are introducing a dictionary, they're declaring a dictionary of the type string and a string that has currently no values, but it is initialized. This is very much similar to saying var my array is empty. So it is initializing an array, there's just nothing in it. It's the same thing here with a dictionary. We are saying this is the type and there is currently nothing in it. And of course, the values could be anything that you want to imagine. They could be a string and integer, they could be a string and any, they could be a string and a string, depending on your situation and your case. Most likely in a dictionary, the keys are a string, simply because that's just what makes sense, right? So with that in mind, I think we're good. Let's move on to our next lesson.